Families now pay $50 for lunch at Chili's without ordering drinks. Fast food chains charge the same price as sit-down restaurants. Iconic American chains are shutting down by the hundreds. The food that remains all tastes identical, no matter where you go. TGI Fridays, Red Lobster, Rubio's, Buca di Beppo, Boston Market, and BurgerFi, household names for decades, are now appearing on bankruptcy dockets instead of neon signs. In 2024 alone, at least 14 major chains filed for Chapter 11 protection, a cluster of failures that industry analysts call historic. Red Lobster, once the nation's seafood giant, closed over 130 locations after hemorrhaging cash. TGI Fridays, a staple of American casual dining, shuttered another 130 restaurants as debts mounted and rent bills came due. Hooters, Buca di Beppo and Rubio's Coastal Grill each joined the list, with dozens of closures rippling through suburbs and city centres. Even fast casual upstarts like BurgerFi and Roti found themselves overwhelmed by rising costs and shrinking margins. An analyst at Restaurant Business Online said they had never seen this many recognisable chains go under in a single year. They said it was not just a bad quarter, it was a reckoning for the entire business model. The wave is not limited to bankruptcies. Denny's announced plans to close more than 70 locations in 2025, while Wendy's is quietly shuttering underperforming stores. Fat Brands, owner of Johnny Rockets and Fatburger, entered Chapter 11 with $1.45 billion in debt, a warning sign for multi-brand operators everywhere. This is not a series of isolated stumbles, it is a coordinated collapse, and it is forcing a hard look at what is really driving American restaurants off the map. Private equity firms promise efficiency and growth, but the mechanics behind their deals often set chains up for disaster. When Golden Gate Capital took over Red Lobster in 2014, they did not just buy a seafood brand, they sold off the land beneath more than 500 restaurants in a massive sale leaseback. The quick cash injection came at a steep price. Red Lobster now owed millions in rent every month to a real estate trust, with each location locked into what is called a triple net lease. That means the restaurant pays not just rent, but also property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. These costs balloon when sales drop. A strategist who advises hedge funds on distressed restaurant assets put it bluntly. Sale leasebacks are a ticking time bomb. You get a one-time windfall, then spend years bleeding out through rent. For Red Lobster, rent obligations doubled almost overnight. When Thai Union, a seafood conglomerate, pushed endless shrimp promotions to drive traffic, losses mounted. The chain's cash flow turned negative, and by early 2025, bankruptcy was inevitable. This is not an isolated case. Across the industry, private equity owners repeat the same playbook, extracting value from real estate, saddling restaurants with fixed costs, and prioritizing short-term returns over long-term survival. The result is a business model where chains are trapped, forced to cut corners on food quality and labor just to keep up with rent. Before a single ingredient is bought, the financial structure has already rigged the menu toward mediocrity. Sysco began as a bold experiment in scale. In 1969, 9 regional food distributors merged in Houston, founding a company that promised to streamline restaurant supply across the country. By the end of its first decade, Sysco's reach had already transformed the business, with sales soaring past $1 billion, and a growing web of warehouses and trucks stretching from coast to coast. Today, Sysco controls about 35% of the US food service distribution market, a level of dominance that few outside the industry ever notice, but every restaurant owner feels. The company's catalogue is a master list of pre-cooked, frozen and shelf-stable ingredients, all engineered for consistency and maximum shelf life. For national chains, that means a burger in Florida tastes almost identical to one in Oregon, not because chefs are following the same recipe, but because both are pulling from the same Sysco-supplied box. In 2013, Sysco tried to buy its only real rival, US Foods, in an $8.2 billion deal that would have given it control over 3/4 of the market. The Federal Trade Commission stepped in, blocking the merger on antitrust grounds. Even so, the duopoly remains, and the power to dictate what ends up on America's plates is concentrated in just a handful of hands. A former procurement lead at a major casual dining chain described the reality behind closed doors. Sysco sets the menu, whether you realise it or not. If it's not in their catalogue, it's not on your plate. For most chain operators, there's little room for negotiation. The scale that once promised efficiency now dictates uniformity, squeezing out local suppliers and narrowing the choices for both chefs and diners. Before a single burger is grilled, the supply chain has already decided what it will taste like. A burger at a national chain used to hint at the region, maybe a smoky cheddar in Texas, or a sharp Vermont slice in New England. Now the taste is eerily familiar everywhere, from Miami to Seattle. That is not an accident. For most chains, about a third, sometimes closer to 40% of the menu, is made up of pre-cooked, frozen or shelf-stable components. These are not just the fries or the chicken strips. Even the cheese, the sauces, and the burger patties themselves arrive in boxes, engineered for maximum shelf life and minimal variation. At the heart of this system is Leprino Foods, a name almost no diner knows, but one that shapes nearly every slice of pizza cheese in the United States. Leprino controls more than 60% of the United States mozzarella market, supplying Domino's, Pizza Hut, and Little Caesars with a patented, low-moisture blend designed to melt the same way in every oven on every crust. Their process, continuous mixing and ultra-high temperature pasteurization, locks in a uniform stretch and flavour, but leaves little room for regional nuance or seasonal variation. One food scientist described it as designing cheese for logistics, not for taste. The result? Pizzas and burgers that taste almost identical no matter the zip code. The efficiencies that keep costs predictable for chains also erase the possibility of local flavour. When the supply chain is built for sameness, the American palate narrows. The familiar bite of a $16 burger or a $20 pizza is not just a product of rising costs, it is the flavour of consolidation, engineered to be forgettable and safe. Food costs for restaurants have jumped about 25% since 2020. Labour costs are up another 15 to 20%, driven by minimum wage hikes and a scramble for workers. Then come the delivery apps, skimming off nearly 30% of every order. For a restaurant already operating on a razor-thin margin, there is nowhere left to cut. The only move is to raise menu prices just to keep the doors open. A CFO at a major casual dining chain lays it out. We are not getting rich off these prices, we are just surviving. The numbers back it up. A basic burger that cost $12 in 2022 now runs $16 to $18. Out of that, about $4 covers the food, meat, bun, cheese, condiments. Labour eats up another $3. Add in the app's cut and the restaurant is left with less than $1 in profit, if that. Multiply by thousands of meals a week, and it is still not enough to cover rent, insurance, and utilities. The result? Diners stare at the bill, shocked, and many simply stop coming. Each round of price hikes drives more customers away, feeding the spiral. Fast casual chains have surged from 12 to 20% of all restaurant sales in just 5 years, a shift that is redrawing the map of American dining. Chipotle, Panera, and Sweetgreen now attract millions with promises of fresh ingredients and lightning-fast service, while traditional sit-down chains watch their dining rooms empty out. The numbers are stark. Foot traffic at downtown Applebee's and TGI Fridays has dropped by as much as 40% since 2021, with remote work draining weekday crowds and business lunches. Data analysts tracking these patterns see a permanent migration. Consumers want speed, customization, and perceived health, not the old ritual of table service and laminated menus. Ghost kitchens have popped up in strip malls and warehouses, churning out delivery-only meals that never see a dining room. But these experiments often double down on frozen, catalogue-based ingredients, reinforcing the sameness that drives diners away in the first place. Public health reporters point out a growing disconnect. While demand for low-calorie, organic and diet-specific options soars, most chains respond by relabeling old items as grilled or clean without changing what is actually in the box. The result is a feedback loop. Consumers chase something better, chains cut corners, and the spiral tightens, leaving fewer reasons to return. This isn't just about a $25 burger, it's about who controls what ends up on your plate. As private equity and monopolies rewrite the menu, local flavour disappears. Every meal is a vote. Support real restaurants or let corporate sameness win. The choice still belongs to us. Share your thoughts below.